Hi guys, so today I'm filming my Magical Readathon Week 3 vlog. I actually already filmed my intro to this and me going through the questions and me picking out all the books, but the footage has corrupted, so I have to do this again. However, I haven't started either of the books, so it doesn't really matter because I'm in no better place than I was when I filmed it the last time. I got 2 prompts. The first prompt was to read a paranormal book or a book that has ghosts in it. For this prompt, I have chosen The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I've been wanting to read this book for quite a while now since I saw Read by Zoe reading this book, and I thought that it actually looked like a really good book and she has some good opinions on it. This is about a boy who is raised in a graveyard by ghosts. I think he goes through dangers of things in the graveyard. As you all know, I don't like to read much about books before I read them because I just think it spoils it a little bit, and sometimes synopsis gives so much away that it's not even worth it. So I can never give you too much information on a book. But yeah, it's basically that there are dangers living in the graveyard that Bod, the main boy, has to overcome. So I'm really excited for this, mainly because I think the real reason I'm attracted to this is because the illustrations, like, that's a really cool illustrating style. I think it's really interesting and individual. It does have a couple of illustrations throughout, not too many, but a couple, and I think they just look really lovely. Let's see if I find one for you. I just think it looks really nice. So I hope to read that, and I should read this in barely any time at all, maybe even finish it in one day. So I'm going to start reading that hopefully this afternoon. The second prompt that I had was to read a book with a dedication in the front of it. Now, almost every book I looked at had a dedication in front of it, so I had quite a lot of choice to choose from, but I went with To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I am so behind. I think everybody has read this book and watched the film, and the reason I want to read this so quickly is because the second film just came out and I haven't even watched the first one yet, and I'm desperate to do it, but I wanted to read the book before I watched the film. I think it's time I just binged this book, watch the film, binge the second book, watch the second film, and then binge the third book in time for the third film, whenever that may be. It seems like a really easy, nice read, and I haven't read a lot of that recently, so I'm excited for a little refresh with both of these books. I feel like they're going to be really easy, really simple, really nice. I think this is just a love story about a girl who writes letters to her crushes, and one day they get leaked to all of the crushes. They get sent out to them all, and she has to deal with the consequences, and she ends up fake dating one of the crushes that she had because she made an excuse to them that she had to fake the letters or something, I'm not sure. And they end up fake dating, and I assume they fall in real love because that's kind of how this trope always goes. So now you've seen the books I want to read this next week for this Magical Readathon, I will get on with the actual reading part, and hopefully you guys will get a couple of good clips and a couple of time lapses of me reading, and maybe it'll inspire you to read along with me. If you have either of these books on your TBR, please go ahead and read them with me and let me know down below what you thought of them, or tweet me or whatever how you felt they were, and we can discuss how we feel. Onto the time lapses. So I have just finished reading The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I think I'm going to have to give this a 2 stars, which is really disappointing, but I didn't really like the book. I thought I was going to love it. The good things about this book are that it really does discuss issues such as, like, back when suicide was a sin and you were buried without a gravestone because you'd committed suicide. Same, it talks about the witches being burned and how many innocent women's lives were taken because of it, thieves being hung. But then there's some beautiful illustrations. As I said when I started this, I really wanted to see the illustrations. However, the illustrations spoil the chapter ahead. Like the last chapter, the illustration and the tagline tells you what's going to happen in the last chapter, and it's like, I don't want to know the ending before I go into it. I thought that this really did lack description of the graveyard. I think I really like a bit of world building in my books, and I was excited to know how beautiful this graveyard was and the ghosts in it, learn about them, and I just kind of felt that there wasn't really much depth to it at all. I thought that each chapter felt very disconnected from each other. I don't really think it was very fluid. It didn't move very easily between chapters. I was kind of throwing myself around left, right, and centre. Characters were all over the place. There was also the rule of Bod, the main character, couldn't leave the graveyard. And yet he did quite a few times, and there was never any repercussions for it. It was just like, naughty boy left the graveyard. End of story. Move on. I would have liked to have seen the repercussions for him leaving the graveyard. I felt like any action scenes we had within the book not only felt disjointed, but also felt really rushed. There's nothing worse than getting an action scene that you've been craving because the book's boring, and then it's just rushed over, and that's the end of that. It feels like Neil Gaiman had no idea where to take the book when the action scenes happened, which confused me because I could think of quite a few ways. The twist at the end was the most predictable thing I've ever read. I predicted it as soon as it could be predicted. I can't say when because it would spoil it for you. Then at the end, you don't get any closure. There's no like goodbye to the characters. There's no moment where you think, oh, that was nice. I love those characters. I really enjoyed that. It's just, okay, it's over. There's an ending, but why don't you get to say goodbye to the characters properly? That's just a personal thing. It just felt strange. The whole book just felt strange, disjointed, a little bit confusing. I didn't hate it, I clearly read it, so it couldn't be a 1 star. Like, I did think it was alright, but I really predicted this to be a 5-star read for me, and it was highly disappointing. Maybe I shouldn't have gone in with such high expectations, but I did. So that is that book down. Now I'm going to continue reading To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I have given it a little start because I wanted a break from this thing, so we'll get on with that. Excuse the mess. I have finished To All the Boys I've Loved Before. My heart is full. This is a 5-star book. It's so good. I thought there was great representation in this book, and it really captured teenage culture so well. Everything's over dramatic and everything's the end of the world, and it really captured that in an accurate way, and I felt like I was a teenager again in school, stressing about my crush. The characters are so well developed that even the small supporting characters do a great job in this book, and you know so much about them and you want to know more and you're intrigued. Even the person you're supposed to hate, you kind of love in a hate way. Like, you hate them so much that their character is great. It's like it was written so well to make you feel that way, and I'm just really, really happy I read this because this is so good. I cannot wait to get the second one from my library. Oh my goodness. I've just checked and it's got to wait, and I'm very stressed about that wait. But yeah, I'm very happy to have read both the books for my magical readathon this week. I just paper cut myself. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the magical readathon. I am going to be filming week 4 straight after this so that I can get the intro done. If you haven't checked out all the parts before this, I will link them in the description below. Hope you join me next week for the next episode of the Magical Readathon. We are almost finished. I will see you in the next one. Bye.